Depersonalization, part 3. I was rambling about this earlier. I was trying to say this earlier, but I was saying too many words. Let me try to say it concisely here. Here's an analogy for depersonalization. It's an anxiety disorder. So if you think of regular anxiety as being like a hypersensitive smoke alarm, you know, where it starts blaring noise every time, you know, you make a grilled cheese. The slightest wisp of smoke, not even, just the smell of the whatever. That's like anxiety or whatever. That's when you start, that's, the analogy is you freak out at the slightest wisp of whatever. Something happens that's bad or freaks you out. That's like the smoke alarm. Depersonalization is like, not only does the smoke alarm go off and start blaring noise and beeping, but the sprinklers go off and you're basically evacuated from your house, i.e. your mind. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, if you picture having that alarm set, there's probably one time, either your alarm was always kind of fucking hypersensitive, or maybe at some point it was not set sensitive enough in your past, and the fucking house nearly burned down. So now you're super fucking freaked out and you have it set to maximum sensitivity. Maybe it's deliberate or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just, that's just how it is now. Ever since the first time your house almost burned down, now your smoke alarm is set to maximum sensitivity. The analogy again being, something bad happened to you or whatever, or you weren't prepared for some trauma in life at some point, and thereafter you've been hypersensitive to such things. And depersonalization is like, not only does the alarm go off, but it kicks you out of your mind. Because it's like, yo, no one can be here right now. Nah. Everybody out. Everybody get the fuck out. And then what happens is, oh, what's up, bro? And what happens is, for some people, it becomes chronic. And in the analogy, it's basically like, there's always like a little wisp of smoke. And so the alarm is like, no one can come back in. You're basically just evicted from your own mind. Because the alarm system is perpetually saying it's not safe, and it's got in the back of the, you know, in the with the history of it having not been set sensitive enough that one time in the past, and now it's fucking hypersensitive. It's alright, it's just cool. And I don't know if I don't think I have a solution to that. I also didn't really say that very succinctly. It is succinct, by the way, look it up. I didn't say it very succinctly, but I don't give a shit. Anyway, that's what it's like. And what was the other? Yeah, there's no like solution with that analogy. That was just a way to describe the problem. But there, the other thing I was going to talk about depersonalization was depersonalization. Here, look over there. I gotta think. Oh yeah. So I first got it when I was like 20 from smoking weed, and then when I was now I'm 30. I would say a few years ago it was, you know, early in my 20s it came and went depending on various things. But my late 20s was the convergence of a lot of things that, in retrospect, it's obvious made it the most severe, which is very telling. When things in your life make a thing worse, it's clear that it's not some independent thing. It's not like if you have depersonalization, it's not like it's just some thing that befell you. It has causes and it has triggers. But yeah, I was basically, all of this is still true, but it was new and fresh at the time, and it was during COVID, so it was just in stark relief. But you know, late 20s, I was basically just a failure in my societal terms, and the result of that was my mind kind of being like, this isn't happening. And that's kind of where the depersonalization was at its worst. When it was like, it just couldn't cope. My mind couldn't cope with, like, couldn't believe I was who I was and that I was where I was. Now I'm still where I'm at, but I can believe it. Now it's perfectly believable because I've been living it. Whatever, you learn to, whatever. Life goes on. But yeah, I hadn't, all my friends were pairing off and either getting very long-term relationships or married or kids. And, you know, starting to be a few years into solid careers and just physically distant from me, let alone, you know, experientially distanced from me. You know, the late 20s, I guess, is when that stuff starts to solidify. So that was during COVID for me, along with just various interpersonal hardships and, yeah, all these things at the same time. I basically wanted to fucking die. And then my mind got scared of myself. And then that's when depersonalization was really hard. So maybe that's happening for you. Yeah, I'm not a very public, candid kind of dude. I don't like talking about this on a fucking public website, but I'm at the point where I kind of don't give a shit, and if it can maybe help people, then I would get some kind of a kick from that. But, yeah, and maybe it would justify the hardship I went through, sort of, if I could, you know, enjoy having helped. If I really don't want to sound like I'm a good person. I'm not like I just want to help people, but I do. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? I'm not like the kind of guy that's always helping people, but it seems like it would feel nice. And maybe, like, you know, give some sort of reason instead of senseless suffering. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, all that to say, I'm not like, it's uncomfortable to share all this, but yeah, a few years ago, it was just basically dawning on me how real my situation was. Because in your early 20s, mid 20s, that's all still kind of like a playground. And, you know, there's a whole discussion on youth and when it ends and when it doesn't end, or how, you know, you can always blah blah blah. I don't know, but it's just safe to say, it's like we could be. It's fair to say that your early and mid 20s, those are the years when, if you say, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, people are at least more likely to be like, you got plenty of time. Like, if nothing else, that's a common response at those ages. Whereas your late 20s, that's less the case, and then from there onward, it's more and more unacceptable to be societally not established. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme. It doesn't matter, but that doesn't make the pressure less apparent. Just like when you're in high school and like peer pressure and society and like being cool really mattered to you. You could tell a high schooler like, hey, all that stuff, trust me, kid, doesn't matter one bit. But like it does matter when you're in it, so it matters. You know what I mean? Anyway, I guess I strayed from the depersonalization topic, but that should tell you that it's not just some isolated phenomenon. It's not like it's very likely that even if you think your life is good, there's probably something that's so fucked up about it, or one thing that one weird thing that happened to you that you haven't worked through, that is making your mind be on evac mode and forcing you out of there and maybe keeping you out of there until you solve it. That's not to say that things can easily be worked through, or that trauma is like some jigsaw puzzle you just have to sit down and tap away. Sometimes you got to be fucked up for your whole life, but maybe less so. Maybe you can be less fucked up if you put some stuff together. But yeah, think about why you might be. Don't try to treat the symptom, try to treat the cause. Or at least recognize the cause. I'll point you out that way. I gotta think some more, see if I have more. I thought I had something else to talk about. Yeah, I guess also, fuck it, I'm just gonna divulge. Is that the word? Divulge? When you give information? Divulge more information about my own personal shit. But yeah, my late 20s was also when I was like, that was a goal I had set. A certain, I wanted to do X, Y, and Z by age like 28, and I had failed to do that. Like a lot of things. Like I had a lot of things that I was like, all right, by this age I want to have this, by this age I want, and like, then I hit that age, and it was just like it walloped me to not have done what I wanted to do. And when you're not at when you're like when it's early enough that you're like, I'll get this sorted out, I have time, then like you don't have to face the consequences of shit, and you don't have to like live with a reality kind of. I don't know. Can't fucking put words to this shit. But you know what I'm saying? When I was like in my early 20s, I was like, oh, well, I'll get that next year. Or like, all right, it's all right. I want to do this and that, but I still have time. It's not my deadline yet or whatever. And then when you hit it, it becomes real. And it's not like time just keeps moving, as opposed to when it's kind of amorphous and like everything's the future, okay, maybe, well, in the future it'll be, and then it's like, oh, now is the future. So that was part of like the impact. And then, like I said, plus COVID and lockdown and just the isolation of everything, and like connections that were maybe brittle became severed, or whatever, broken completely, or not, maybe not broken, but just like, not as likely to recover. Now I'm just turning this into a therapy session, but that's not what the goal here is that if you're like, oh shit, me too, then maybe you get some insight. because there was definitely a chunk of time. Hello. Damn. It's a cool bird. Comment what bird that is and your favorite bird. No. What was I saying? I was saying something about... Oh, yeah, because I remember there was a solid chunk of time there where I was just like, oh no, I'm crazy and there's no reason for it. Oh no, I'm dissociating, I must have some weird brain disease. It's probably not that. You probably cannot believe how bad your life is. Not to say, you know, I'm grateful for a lot of things, but Jesus, this is a long video. Alright, well... Hold on. Well, if there's more shit to say, then I don't remember what it was. I can't think right now. But I guess I'll just do another one if there is more on this topic. Because this is already long as shit. Yeah, what's the takeaway here? Alarm analogy. And then... Oh yeah, well, just to wrap up my whole little journal entry there, that was like, I think I was like depersonalized and dissociated and shit for like a year when I was like 27 to 28. I don't know, but that was just, it perfectly coincided with the, you know, it's setting in the things that I had failed to do by a certain, and you shouldn't, you know, my arc doesn't have to be, you can be fucking whatever age and do whatever, but this is just my own situation or whatever. But yeah, examine your life, even if it seems like it's alright. Maybe it's maybe it looks alright from somebody else's perspective, but it's not what you wanted for yourself. Like maybe you're like, I don't get it. I'm fine, dude. I have like depersonalization, derealization, but like honestly, my life is pretty dope. Like, well, maybe it's what you think is a dope life, but actually you want something else for yourself. You know what I mean? Or you're deeply troubled by something. Maybe you fucking like, you know, maybe you were cruel to somebody one time, and now you're like, who knows? Anything could fucking, but it's something. That's the whole fucking 20 minutes of bullshit for just saying this. Something caused it. It's maybe drugs helped or whatever. Or maybe you had a fucking weird accident or something. But like, I don't fucking know. I'm not a psychiatrist. Don't fucking listen. I don't know what I'm talking about. But if it feels like, you know, nothing caused it, maybe something caused it. Jesus Christ, I'm done. All right. I'm gonna point you into the birds and the trees. and the water. And I guess I'll take a fucking public speaking class or something so I can be more concise next time, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, here's some quiet nature. See you next time. Take it easy.